maybe not the quarterback that we thought would be slinging it, leading that game-winning drive. Welcome back inside our NFL Network studios. Mike Am, David Carr, and Steve Weich with you. All right, conversation is going to be Shedeur. What did you see?
Yeah, well, we got to keep 5 quarterbacks now. Yeah, Huntley went down, and I mean, this is what we're talking about. So I mean, Shedeur, he just pressed. That's all it was. And it was kind of what we were talking about before the game. You would hope that he would be locked in on the details, and who knows really what was going on around him. Who knows what guys were in with him. That's what we always don't really know, is like if you start digging into the depth charts, the guys weren't really separating, so there wasn't really a place to go. And he's trying to make something happen. He has limited opportunities to kind of show what he can do, and so now he's trying to make plays. He's trying to create big moments, and there really weren't any there to be had, so it just ended up being negative plays. So it just wasn't a great outing.
Yeah, offensive line was not protecting well.
Yeah,
and he also watched Dillon Gabriel come down and orchestrate a 2-minute offense at the end of the first half. Put points on the board.
Right.
He starts the second half, and it just really struggled. There was no tempo. There wasn't what we saw when he played a great game against Carolina. There's no rhythm or flow to the offense. David, you know this very well. This is a timing offense.
Yeah.
When he was in there was no timing whatsoever for a lot of different reasons, not just his ineffective play.
I think there was some speculation, too. Even on our set, the Shedeur banged up, not going to go there, but the decision was to go to Tyler Huntley, which could mean a variety of things, though.
Weird, though.
Yeah,
weird.
and well, then also it could be the oblique still, right? Like, who knows? When you miss practice like that, so he missed a couple days of practice, that doesn't help either. So that could be an issue as well.
All right, we will assess more of what we saw between the Rams and the Browns coming up at the half. Let's get you to Green Bay right now, where it is part of 4 games that we have for you here on NFL Network. And the game day at the half presented by Best Buy. Mike Am, David Carr, Steve Weich with you. All right, I thought we were going to start with Joe Flacco because he looked pretty good to start this game, but not so fast, as Lee Corso would say. Dillon Gabriel, he showed up in a big way.
Fantastic, man. I mean, the numbers weren't great on the first drive, but he came out, got a 2-minute drive, and was excellent. Like, he was exactly what we've seen him be all preseason. He's efficient. He knows where he's going with the ball. There were a couple accuracy things in the first drive, but they didn't show up at all. The second drive in the 2-minute drive, and he was on point on the outside, down the middle of the field, ripping through his progressions. It was literally a veteran drive. And so, man, this competition is going to be really interesting because, but also, can we talk about the wide receiver? Like, we say we have no wide receivers in Cleveland. Like, I like all these guys. Troy Thrash, Gage Larvadan, Caden Davis. Like, they got some good young players. So let's get excited about that. That's a great catch.
Great
right
catch
there.
by
It's
Thrash.
incredibly difficult down there. I've been there in that red zone throw right there. Difficult. This one's a little bit easier, but great job seeing the corner fall off. He was trying to double team the back. Great job. See, double clutch, found his open receiver. I thought Dillon played fantastic.
And with a double clutch, he gets the safety, bad eyes, right? Safety jumps the inside receiver, so he gets open.
Excellent.
Look, the one thing that I loved about it, we talked about this pregame, guys, when you put a quarterback in at that situation like they did with Gabriel, the coaching staff wants to evaluate him, see how he runs the 2-minute. Well, he took him down the field. They manipulated timeouts. He wasn't afraid to go to the middle of the field if that's what got him there. But the timing and the rhythm of that offense against a basic kind of zone defense allowed them to move the ball. Dillon Gabriel went off of reads, the timing. David, you know this position well. When you see this guy 7 yards here, 7 yards there, those add up pretty quick to get you down the field instead of taking shot plays.
It's boring football, yeah. That's what we talked about before the game. Is like, be boring, but that's excellent football. And I think that, like, when you look at this, and we were kind of digging into this, like when they're playing him right before the halftime, maybe coming out of half even, like, I really believe, like we've talked about 4 quarterbacks, but they're trying to see if he could be the backup. And for me, personally, if I'm sitting here right now, yes, Dillon Gabriel can be your backup quarterback, right? So I think that there's going to be interesting decisions to be made. You want to keep 4 guys? Joe Thomas has been saying we can't keep 4 quarterbacks. He said it probably 20 times on the broadcast, so it's going to be interesting what they do here.
Yeah, because, Steve, you talked about linebacker depth and really a lack thereof.
Yes.
4 quarterbacks, that was Joe Thomas's point during the broadcast. And, oh, by the way, I know I said we'd start with Joe Flacco. He looked pretty good, 9 of 10 passing to start off with the touchdown.
Touchdown drive, moving down the field. Again, he's going against the Rams backups, but you wanted to see this out of Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
Because this whole starting unit was in there. He got to Boston Njoku, made some attempts to Jerry Jeudy, but just the whole flow, the way they operated with the run-pass game, that's what you want to see out of your starting unit, David, when you're coming out in a game like this.
Yeah, like I said before the game, he looked exactly like he did 10 years ago when I played against. I mean, but he's still slinging it. And there's no lack of velocity. There's no lack of anticipation and timing. That's a great run, by the way, after the catch. But I thought he played fantastic. I mean, he did exactly what you wanted him to do. This is a great throw. You got pressure in your face, slides just enough, still has mobility enough to make throws. So I thought Joe played great.
You know, as we were watching sort of the beginning of the game unfold, I'm thinking to myself, hey, like, this is a young wide receiver core. To have a guy like Joe Flacco, this might be a good thing. And then Dillon Gabriel comes out. rookie quarterback, and obviously plays pretty well here. Really significant news. Ethan Gosich, who is the team's center, out with the knee injury. Keep in mind, this is a guy who started the last 3 seasons. So talk about some uncertainty at that quarterback spot outside of Joe Flacco. Talk about an offensive line. Is certainly the leader of that unit. So as soon as we get an update, feet up on the couch, relax. We got second half action of Rams and Browns coming up, and then Seahawks and Packers around the corner. Jags, Dolphins, and Raiders and Cardinals close out our coverage at 10 Eastern time. All right, in pregame, I threw out the question to you, more pressure, Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders? I didn't know which way you guys were going to go, and you roll with Shedeur. Now I'm thinking to myself, after what I just saw before halftime from Dillon Gabriel, that pressure just got ratcheted up a little bit for Shedeur.
Yeah, absolutely, because you can see it. You can see it, Dillon, when he was in last week. There's just precision there. He understands what's happening, like even on the sideline. Like, I know this shouldn't bother me, but like when Joe Flacco was in, Dillon Gabriel had his helmet on. He was looking at the wristband. You know, Dillon's in, and Shedeur's kind of just chilling. So, I mean, I need to see that type of precision. Like, I know he can make these splash plays. I know he can make off-target, off-schedule plays. Like, that is all great. But what we saw that was great out of Dillon was some efficiency, some warm and fuzzies like I talked about, making Kevin Stefanski and these guys feel comfortable. This stuff is all awesome. And I want Shedeur to play excellent football, but he's got to lock in a little bit and be more precise for me.
And the pressure is more on Shedeur. One, because of the name, the hype, all that good stuff. Even though he was drafted behind Dillon Gabriel. I would love to see Shedeur Sanders get an opportunity at the end of the game to maybe come from behind.
Yeah,
to lead a drive like we saw from Dillon Gabriel.
Love that.
Did at the end of the half. So to show that he can do those types of things, regardless of who's in the ball game, that he understands the situation, like we saw all through college at Colorado and Jackson State. The bigger the moment, the better he played. Maybe he gets a big moment here to show himself.
Great. Yeah, you need that opportunity to come, and things need to fall into place, and maybe they do. But if they don't, did Dillon Gabriel just stamp himself as the backup?
Look, I'm not Kevin Stefanski, but I've seen enough out of Dillon to make him my backup quarterback, regardless of what happens, even if Kenny's there. So
you guys have Kenny Pickett's.
Yeah, exactly. So we see what happens there, but I mean, Dillon's done a good job.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is Kenny, we just haven't seen him in the preseason at some point. Like, not exactly sure how healthy this guy is. And I know we've been building this up as like the final audition. I mean, the reality is Joe Flacco, QB1, we know that. Feels like it's going in that direction with Kenny Pickett trying to figure out what he's going to be once. Here we go. Preseason. We're knocking on the door of week 1 of the regular season. But for some of these guys, really an audition to solidify a spot, whether it's moving up the depth chart or maybe even a starting role. But when it comes to QB1 in Cleveland, Joe Flacco, the guy, he and the starters, probably getting around 20 to 25 reps in this game. What's it like, the OG, when you're out there and you get your first reps of the preseason?
Honestly, just talking to Joe when I went out there to Cleveland, I think he's excited about this. It seems like he still loves the game. He's very healthy. He's got a live arm. So getting out there, and obviously with him being gone last year too, he had some success here in Cleveland, but let's get out there. Let's get into a real game plan, which is going to be a little bit what we see today, because you don't put the starters out there in the last preseason game and not do something trying to recreate what you're going to do week 1. So I think that'll be fun to see what this new offense looks like. And I say new, but it's old. It's now Kevin Stefanski went back to his roots, said we're going to install the offense we had a couple years ago, and let's get after it. It's going to be fun to watch.
And it's going to be good for Flacco, because remember, he was the backup last year with the Colts. He started a couple games, but he hasn't played football in a while.
Yeah.
So the fact that he can actually get there on the field against the Rams, 3rd and 4 teamers, and get the whole operational thing going with the starting unit, I just think that whole part, David, you talk about this being a dress rehearsal for week 1 with maybe doing some scheming in here. I think that's really important for Flacco, again, because he just hasn't played in a game for, probably a calendar year almost.
Yeah, linking some of the mental reps with some of the physical ones, at least for about 25, 30 snaps in this ball game. Meanwhile, you got a couple rookies that are trying to solidify that QB2 spot, although Kenny Pickett's like, oh, Mike, pump the brakes there for just a second. We still have Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. Pickett, by the way, dinged up. But when it comes to these two players, this is what they've done in the preseason. Shedeur in week 1 really took the NFL by storm. Everyone was focused in on that performance. Gabriel didn't play in that game, came back in week number 2. You see what those numbers are. He looked pretty poised and ready to go. Now, what do we expect to see from both of these guys today? Bridget Condon is in Cleveland and joins us right now. Bridget, always good to see you. Just break this down for me. We know Flacco is going to get the start in this game. What do we expect from Gabriel and Shedeur?
Yeah, well, Mike, I first want to talk about Flacco for a quick second because I just saw him out here, and it's worth noting that I know he's 40 years old, a lot of questions about his age, but he looked like he was throwing that ball so effortlessly, and he can still sling it for anybody wondering if he can. So he'll start. Kenny Pickett also out here warming up. He will not play today as he's working his way back from a hamstring injury. Why won't he play? Well, he just started back doing 11-on-11s this week in practice, so they're being a little bit cautious with him. So now the story that everyone wants to hear about, Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel. I'm told in a perfect world, Dillon Gabriel will get in around middle of the second quarter, and then Shedeur will go in middle of the third quarter and play the remainder of the game. As for what head coach Kevin Stefanski wants to see from these backups, he said it's pretty boring, but it's simple. How do these guys look running the offense? Can they spread the ball around? Can they get their teammates in the correct positions to run the correct plays? Shedeur Sanders did not play last week due to the oblique injury. He was back on the practice field this week and said he's feeling good in terms of that injury and needs to be able to go out there today and execute with no excuses.